we don't need edible arrangements.
Sure. Yeah.
But,
absolutely. But yeah, sorry.
But like back to this question of like a global warming, and I think it should be obvious like why global warming is a problem that demands some kind of massive state like cooperative like project.
Yeah.
Where like of switching off a fossil fuel economy and energy, like, and it needs to be like a centrally planned is basically the only way that's going to work. Like, an Apollo program or something like that. Like, and you mentioned the Green New Deal as being like kind of a paradigm shift and just saying like, no, like,
and something like nuclear can't, like on a small scale is very dangerous, on a big scale, very safe.
Well, with small modular reactors, that's
it's actually the big reactors that are the problem, right?
Well,
no, I mean like planned, I don't want the state of Indiana to be in charge of its own, and to be in charge of its own safety standards. I mean, small scale in terms of like federalism and local economies.
Okay, maybe I could put it a slightly different way. Jameson McBride, an energy systems researcher with the Breakthrough Institute, which is an environmental think tank out of California, he's a democratic socialist, and he did an analysis of those countries who have had the fastest decarbonization rates, and 4 out of the 5. Were state-led public infrastructure programs, mass build-out of nuclear plants and or hydroelectric dams. The reason those are really, really important is because we need reliable electricity to make sure the dialysis machines in the hospitals are running 24/7.
It's not going to be solar.
Sorry, no, because the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't always blow, and so you do need solar and wind. Absolutely have a crucial role to play alongside these other things. But the important thing is that I want to sort of emphasize here is it took a massive, as you say, Apollo program style state build out of this infrastructure to meet the scale the rate of decarbonization of the electricity grid that things like the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC report say. How rapidly we have to decarbonize. These countries have met those, their grids have met that rate, but they did it not depending on the market, but through state-led build-out of infrastructure.
Right. France was like the example you gave me when I wrote about the Durham Miners Gala, where it was like, they did it incredibly quickly too.
About a decade,
like in a decade, and it was because they organized it at a national level. They're like, look, this is what we're going to do.
And that brings it, all I want to say, and that takes it away from this like kind of question of like technology fetishism. Like, is like this the only, often that debate boils down to like, is it this versus that? Versus like, what's the goal we want to achieve? How can we get there? And what's the process? And what's the process to get there? And is it going to be the market that takes us there, or regulation? So and that happens to both sides of that. Like, there's people who are opposed to the people who oppose certain technologies are also sort of technology fetishists, in that kind of like through the looking glass way of the people who think that technology is just the technology that is the answer. Not like what we do with it or how we use it, or how it's planned, basically.
One of the great challenges, there will be Republicans who say, nuclear is great, that believe in climate change, believe it's real, and they say nuclear is great, and I'm with them on that. But when it comes to what Michal was just talking about, when push comes to shove, and the higher taxation on the wealthy to be able to fund the scale of public sector infrastructure, then at that point those people who are cheating say, "Oh, wait, hold! That's not what we meant." So it isn't just about it's not technology on its own. It has to be accompanied by this radical shift in the relations of production as well.
Right. No one wants market nuclear. That is going to be a problem.
Mr. Burns does. So, I just to close things out, like one of the things I'm interested in is like we talked about global warming, and it's this huge issue that people are becoming like more and more depressed about, because you read scientific reports about what the melting of the ice caps is going to do to the coastal lying areas of the world where most of the people on this planet live.
A lot of sad
when you
polar
think
bears.
about Well, yeah, you think about the extinction of the world's megafauna happening in our lifetime, or like the death of like every fish in the ocean or insect. I mean, it's like extremely heartbreaking and dispiriting to think about. But what does it mean when you say that you're not like a doomsayer when it comes to global warming, and in particular, very like to argue against this kind of eco-primitivist idea that like we just need to like basically drastically scale down the human population of the planet and our own like the lives that we lead.
We don't need to gild the lily or whatever the sort of negative inversion of that is.
We can have gilded lilies.
Things are bad enough and quite disconcerting enough with respect to climate change, with respect to biodiversity loss. We don't need to exaggerate. And, for a number of years, I worked at a climate research institute. I was a science writer there, but working alongside hydrologists, climatologists, energy systems researchers, forest researchers, et cetera, et cetera. And all of them are genuinely concerned. I mean, their whole purpose is to analyze the problem and to try to solve the problem. And every single one of them on a regular basis is frustrated with the scale of with two things. One, of course, with the denialism, largely associated with the right, but also with the exaggeration. It's already bad enough. And one of the reasons they get frustrated about this is because when we exaggerate about this, then it's very easy for the right to say, ha ha ha, look, here the evidence doesn't show this. Well, therefore, we don't need to care about this at all. Entomologists are incredibly frustrated with the Insectageddon story that The Guardian put on its front page. Things are bad with insects, not this bad. And it's...
And those are people you don't want to fuck with. Just to be clear. Yeah.
The insect people?
The insect, big insect, yeah.
I guess the thing is...
Big bug.
We don't need a bunch of Pollyannas saying everything's fine. It's not fine. But we also don't need a bunch of Cassandras saying the world is going to end in 10 years, because that's not true either. A lot of people in the community talk about a sort of a sober sense of urgency, evidence-based. That's what we need. And the other thing is just quite simply, there's a lot of psychological evidence to suggest that doomsaying just turns people off.
Oh, yeah.
No,
I was just talking to someone today that says, like, I don't know why they keep telling me we have like 12 years till we're all gonna die. He's like, I hear a deadline like that and I just check out and be like, I'm gonna fail this test.
Yeah. I'm gonna make this the best 12 years.
That's no, really, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, and yeah, we
but
need.
It does lead to a kind of depression and paralysis of just say fuck it, or and as a question we answered yesterday about people who are afraid to have kids because they think that like it's going to be Mad Max in the next 20 years.
It isn't. It really isn't. And here's the other thing is that it's already Mad Max for many people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Get some perspective.
Yeah, look at Mozambique.
Yeah. So let's get real here. Sea level rise is a real challenge. The threat in particular to diminishing harvest, that is a real challenge. But there's lots of swathes of the world where that's already a challenge. What was it a couple of years ago? A famous British actress, can't remember her name. She was in...
What movie was she in? Come on. I got this.
She said, climate change will make parts of the world uninhabitable. There's already parts of the world. The oceans are uninhabitable. Deserts are uninhabitable. We're missing a trick here. We're not being realistic about what the issue is. We're exaggerating, and it makes it very easy for the right to dismiss us.
Right, but the I can already imagine. I'm already anticipating the turnaround to what you're saying here would be people who are saying, well, you're just selling people in the first world a line that they can have their cake and eat it too. Literally, we can keep eating steak every day and drive our cars to and from work all of the time, and also deal with climate change.
You can, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. We need electric cars. We need public transportation. We need clean jet fuel. Aviation, trucking, and long-haul shipping are incredibly difficult to electrify. So we're probably going to need synthetic fuels there. But think about what it means if we were to give up all those things. There will be no Medicare for all.
Right.
if
Yeah.
there isn't that international supply chain,
Right.
If there isn't, so we have a choice. Either we retreat from that, and we're giving up on Medicare for all. We're giving up on hospitals. We're giving up on modernity. And what kind of a world would that look like?
Well, the Mad Max world.
The Mad Max.
Yeah.
That's pretty Mad Max,
And
isn't
you're
it?
also,
Yeah.
if you're a degrowthist, you're asking people that live in like horrible conditions in the third world to never improve. Like their infant and maternal mortality rate never gets to go up. That's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's cruel. We can build like beautiful, great, big things.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's the good thing about something like the Green New Deal, where this sort of this rut that we've been in that counterposes, right? Like two ruts, the counterpose the environment and the economy gets completely dismissed because it's like, yes, we will need to have these big projects, but it's like a reevaluation of values. What do we actually want to do with our time, with our energy, with our social resources, to live in a way that's like ecologically sustainable, in a way that's ecologically sustainable for all of it. But that gives us jobs, that gives us good quality of life and all of that. And it doesn't mean that there won't be any changes. And like you said, I mean, and there might be some difference on this couch to that too, right? There might be things that, or I think the argument that we present in the book is that there's actually probably lots of things that are irrationally produced, like that, that don't correspond to what people might decide in other conditions, right? So the question is, how are we going to get to a place where we can make those decisions together?
So stop worrying about not having kids and spend your 3 hours of activist energy building that Apollo program, lobbying and activating for a Green New Deal to have this nationwide build out of clean energy infrastructure. That's where your energy should be based. Sober, urgent, evidence-based response to real crises.
And what you're saying is like, like the crisis is real, but from what you're saying is like there are plans and technologies in effect that already exist that are working to counteract the worst of it.
No. I'm saying that there are technologies available, but if we don't have it at a minimum social democracy, let alone democratic socialism, we're not going to. It will require a minimum of social democracy to deliver on the promise
so the idea
of
that
those technologies.
That there's like a technological fix to all these problems is a myth within our current economic system.
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
There are no technical solutions to political problems, but there are
problems,
technical necessities to political problems. But the politics have to come first.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I mean, as Miha was saying a moment ago, the bizarre thing is that people who say technology won't fix anything, they themselves are basically fetishizing technology. Right? Technology can change things tremendously, but hand in hand with transformation of social relations.
Right. And technology is going to change things regardless. It's just a matter of whether or not we get a hold of it.
Yeah, and what kind of technology will depend, and it's like and then that next level, and what kind of technology it'll be, will also depend on the social relations, on the politics, right? And there might be ways that like dystopian capitalism, like solves climate change, but in a way that's only good for certain sectors of the world.
Kills 90% of the people.
Kills 90%, and then there are inhabitable like bubbles in the middle of the ocean, like there's Peter Thiel's
ceased eating. Yeah,
we
Mad Max and Waterworld.
We fixed or have largely fixed the ozone problem. We didn't need to get rid of capitalism for that, but what we did need was not the market. We needed regulatory intervention, and in this case, it's the same sort of thing. We need we can do this. We can solve this, but it will require something other than the market to do that, to force that technology switching.
And what you're proposing, the alternative is a kind of central planning, big massive state effort.
A Green New Deal, yeah. Absolutely.
Great.
There you go.
Well,
So glad we solved that problem.
Yeah.
All right.
We've solved
Time
all the
for
world's
beer.
problems.
Yeah.
Strictly dust off my hands.
All right.
Now to go coal rolling.
Yeah, Lee and Mihai, thank you for figuring it all out.
The book is People's Republic of Walmart, out from Verso Books. Pick it up today. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
seriously,
guys.
thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.